Welcome to our holistic review rubric. When doubt no longer exists for you, then go forward with courage. Chief White Eagle Ponca. Our agenda for this final module will be looking at our objectives, going over having a rubric overview, looking at the rubric in comparison to application components, and looking at the rubric in comparison to holistic principles. Our objectives for this module will understand the purpose of the rubric guide, using the rubric to review application components, and using the rubric to review the core principles of holistic review. Our rubric overview. The ASPPH holistic review process will integrate an analytic rubric that is inclusive of evaluation criteria, the application components, and holistic principles, a rating scale, do not recommend, recommend with reservations, and recommend, and task descriptors, which clarifies expectations for achievement. The benefit of using the rubric is that it justifies the rating selected in addition to providing context should the applicant or candidate want to learn more about their selection decision. Next, we'll go over the rubric and the application components. This is the rubric for the application components with a rating scale of recommend, recommend with reservations, and do not recommend. You will see our discretionary considerations, writing statement, letters of reference, ASPPH member school diversity, and the interview listed. For discretionary considerations under the category of recommend, we're looking at, has the applicant demonstrated few or several significant intersectional identities that may have hindered or enhanced the context in which the achievements they have noted were attained. Recommend with reservations. The applicant has demonstrated one or more intersectional identities that may have hindered or enhanced the context in which the achievements they have noted were attained. And do not recommend. The applicant has demonstrated no or somewhat insubstantial intersectional identities that have not hindered or enhanced the context in which the achievements they have noted were attained. For the writing statement under recommend, we have has clear, coherent writing, is able to excellently express the relationship between their interests and background, as well as their passion, has articulated specificities about their fellowship program of interest and how it pertains to their short-term and long-term goals. Under recommend with reservations, has a clear, coherent writing. The writer has aimed to express the relationship between their interests and background, yet has not articulated well, mentions specifics about their program of choice and career goals, or does not mention specifics as to why they are applying to their fellowship program of choice, however, articulates goals related to public health. Writing is under do not recommend. Writing is not understandable. Very little mentioning of their background, interest, or passion. Unclear why they are applying to the fellowship or what they hope to get out of the program they are applying to. Little to no mention of goals. Under letters of reference, for recommend, the letters clearly and thoroughly articulate 4 to 5 of the following. Applicant has demonstrated they have built a substantial relationship with their reference. Applicant has distinguished themselves from others. They address the skills and development and learning components of the project. Address one or several of the desired project qualifications. Addresses, if applicable, any areas of improvement for the applicant. Under recommend with reservation, they would only have to select 2 to 3 of those, have mentioned 2 to 3 of those. And under do not recommend, they would have 0 to 1 of those met as well. And so those again are applicant has demonstrated they have built a substantial relationship with their reference. Applicant has distinguished themselves from others, addresses the skills development and learning components of the project, address one or several of the desired project qualifications, and address, if applicable, any areas of improvement for the applicant. So under recommend with reservations, they would have 2 to 3 of those categories. Under do not recommend, they would have 0 to 1 of those categories. For ASPPH member school diversity, recommend would say applicant is from an ASPPH member school that has not been or is seldomly represented in the fellowship program. Recommend with reservations, applicant is from an ASPPH member school that has been moderately represented in the fellowship program. Do not recommend would be applicant is from an ASPPH member school that has largely been represented in the fellowship program. Not that this would deter anything, but it's a potential guide of considerations for these, especially with the ASPPH member school diversity. For the interview, which is for the technical reviewers, the applicant under recommend, the applicant clearly expressed how the fellowship will benefit their current and future goals in public health. Under recommend with reservations, the applicant vaguely expressed how the fellowship will benefit the applicant's current or future goals in public health. And under do not recommend, the applicant is unclear as to how the fellowship will benefit the applicant's current or future goals in public health. And again, these are all recommendations. This rubric is not static, and it can be updated and changed and shifted as needed. Next, we will cover the rubric and the holistic principles. The rubric for holistic principles. You will see the holistic principles listed, the categories of the rating scale: recommend, recommend with reservations, and do not recommend. For mission alignment, which is focused on advancing the institution's core goals through the fellowship. Recommend would be overall, applicant's profile is clearly mission aligned. Recommend with reservations, overall, applicant's profile is somewhat mission aligned. And do not recommend, overall, applicant's profile is not mission aligned. A two-part inquiry, which is the attention to their likely ability to succeed and thrive in the fellowship, and attention to their ability to enhance the educational experiences of their peers. Under recommend, overall, the applicant's profile clearly indicates their likely ability to succeed and thrive in the fellowship, and their ability to enhance the educational experiences of their peers. Recommend with reservations. Overall, the applicant's profile is somewhat indicates their likely ability to succeed and thrive in the fellowship and their ability to enhance the educational experiences of their peers. And do not recommend this overall applicant's profile gives very little indication of their likely ability to succeed and thrive in the fellowship and their ability to enhance the educational experiences of their peers. Considerations of multiple, often intersecting factors. This again is the academic, non-academic, and contextual that in combination uniquely define and reflect accomplishments and potential contributions of each applicant in light of their background and circumstances. And under recommend with reservations, and do not recommend, you want to defer to the discretionary considerations we discussed in the previous modules. For recommend, you're looking at meeting many of those criteria for discretionary considerations. Recommend with reservations, they meet very little of those discretionary considerations, and do not recommend as they potentially do not meet any of those discretionary considerations, all of which should be very rare. However, this is where those considerations come in to effect for holistic principles. And lastly, our potential contributions. The applicant to this fellowship and the field of public health. So in recommend, the applicant's profile adequately demonstrates their future potential in the fellowship and field of public health. Recommend with reservations, overall, applicant's profile moderately demonstrates their future potential in the fellowship and the field of public health. And do not recommend, applicant's profile insufficiently demonstrates their future potential in the fellowship and the field of public health. And again, this is not static. It can be moved, changed, shifted, made more specific at any time and has room for growth. As we end this series and this module, I want you to hold on to this quote by Toni Morrison. Make a difference about something other than yourselves. Being a part of this holistic review process, incorporating the holistic principles, and deeply assessing and refining what we are looking for in the application components allows us to make a huge difference, live into ASPPH values, and live into our core value of health equity for all, which makes a difference about something other than ourselves. Thank you all for allowing me this time to guide you through this series, and I hope you have gained a lot out of it. Happy reviewing.